A proposal for Indigenous recognition in the Constitution will be put to Australians within 3 years.
Ken Wyatt says he's committed to a referendum, but says the wording of any constitutional change needs to be right. We'll go live now to political reporter James O'Doherty. And James, the minister's treading quite carefully.
Carefully but fairly quickly, Annalise and Kieran. Ken Wyatt is today going to commit to putting a consensus proposal for constitutional change to the Australian people within this term of Parliament so that we could start the referendum process to ask a question of whether or not Australians want an Indigenous voice in the nation's founding document. Ken Wyatt says, though, any proposed change will need to be very carefully worked through because the wording of the Constitution is particularly important.
We need consensus, but we need the right set of words, because what people don't realise is whatever words you insert into the Constitution, they can have significant implications way beyond the simple wording.
The Minister for Indigenous Australians will be working on this consensus proposal following the Uluru Statement from the Heart in 2017 that recommended an Indigenous voice in the nation's founding document and an advisory body in the Constitution. That's something that the Turnbull government rejected under fears that it could create a third chamber of Parliament. Scott Morrison, though, seems to be more open to this idea of an advisory body or a voice within the Constitution. Ken Wyatt saying that the idea of a voice within the Constitution is an important one, but not one that necessarily is just on the issue of an advisory body.
It has to, because when I take the notion of the voice, that voice was not just a singular voice. It is voices at every level. And I hear it frequently, even when I was in aged care and I was out with Aboriginal communities talking about aged care. People were saying, we need to have our voices heard. And it's a generic term that we've used ever since I can remember in all of my activism when I was young.
There is a fair amount of bipartisanship on this issue. Ken Wyatt is committed to working with Labor's Linda Burney on this and other politicians from both sides of the House, as well as Australians across the country. Annalise, Kieran.